Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a word you hear everywhere in tech, Kubernetes. Now, I know it sounds super complex, but we're going to break it all down. We'll start with one simple problem and just build our way up, one idea at a time. So, let's get into it.
So what's the big deal? What problem was Kubernetes even built to solve? Well, imagine you're not just running one single app. Imagine you're running hundreds, maybe even thousands. And each one is its own little world, right? With its own code, its own updates, its own needs. How on earth do you manage all of that without it just spiraling into total chaos?
And this is what that chaos actually looked like. Just a tangled mess of servers and apps that was a total nightmare to manage. I mean, if you wanted to scale something up, it was a huge headache. And if something broke, good luck. Finding the problem was like searching for a needle in a haystack. This just wasn't going to work long term. There had to be a better way.
So the very first step to taming all this chaos is to create a blueprint. We need a simple, really consistent way to tell our system exactly what we want it to do. And for Kubernetes, that blueprint language is called YAML.
A blueprint is honestly the perfect way to think about it. See, YAML isn't some complex programming language with loops and logic. It's declarative. That just means you write down the state you want, what you want to exist in the end, and you do it in a way that's super easy for both you and the machine to understand.
And this slide right here shows you exactly why YAML was chosen. On the left, you've got YAML's clean, indented structure. And on the right, you've got JSON with all its curly braces and commas. Now, computers love JSON, don't get me wrong, but YAML is made for us, for humans, and that focus on readability is absolutely crucial when you're managing complex systems.
You know, the best part about YAML is just how simple its rules are. Everything is built on these key value pairs, and you just structure it with clean indentation, spaces, not tabs. Just remember it's case sensitive, and you use a little hyphen to make a list of things. It's a really elegant way to describe even the most complicated setups.
Okay, so we have our YAML blueprints, but where do they actually get executed? Well, that all happens in the command center, the Linux operating system. Kubernetes is built right on top of Linux, so understanding a few key ideas here is going to be super helpful.
This is kind of the golden rule of Linux. You'll hear it all the time. Everything is a file. Whether it's a document, a program, or even a piece of hardware like your mouse, the operating system sees it and talks to it like it's a file. This one simple idea is what makes Linux so powerful and flexible, and it's a huge reason Kubernetes is built on it.
Now, our YAML files are just plain text, which is a problem for sensitive stuff like passwords. You can't just save them for anyone to see, so we use base64. It's a simple encoding tool, and I say encoding, not encryption, that just scrambles that data into a safe text format. This is the standard way Kubernetes handles things called secrets.
And, you know, things are going to go wrong. It happens. That's when you have to put on your detective hat, and Linux gives you the tools for the job. To check out your running containers directly, you use a tool called Cryptal. And to read the system's log files, which is basically its diary of everything that's happened, you use journalctl. These are your essential tools for troubleshooting.
Okay, so we have our YAML blueprints, and we have our Linux command center. Now it's time to bring it all together and build the main structure, Kubernetes itself. And really, the best way to visualize it is as a set of nested boxes, kind of like a Russian doll.
At the very, very core, the smallest box, we have the container. Think of this as a neat little package that holds your application code and all of its dependencies. Every library, every file it needs to run. This bundling makes it totally self-contained and portable, so it can run the exact same way anywhere.
But a container doesn't just run by itself in isolation. It lives inside the next box up, a pod. A pod is the smallest thing you can actually deploy in Kubernetes. It gives the container a home, a network address, a whole environment to run in. And, importantly, a single pod can hold a whole group of containers that are tightly related and need to work together.
So where does a pod run? It runs on a node. A node is the next box in our model, and it's basically just a single worker machine in our system. This could be a real, physical server sitting in a data center, or, more likely these days, a virtual machine running in the cloud.
And finally, you take all of these nodes, you group them all together, and you get our largest box, the cluster. The cluster is the whole shebang. It has a master brain that acts like an orchestra conductor, telling all the nodes what to do, scheduling where the pod should run, and just making sure the entire system works together in perfect harmony.
And this brings us to the most important idea of all. You see, Kubernetes isn't just a static tool. It's a living, breathing, self-healing system. It's made up of these automated controllers that are constantly working in the background, and their only job is to compare the desired state, what's in your YAML blueprint, with the current state of the cluster. And if they don't match, it takes action to fix it. That's it. That's the magic.
So there you have it. You just built the foundational mental model for how Kubernetes actually works. And with this structure in your head, the path to mastering it becomes so much clearer.
From here, the learning journey just builds on what we've covered. You'll dive deeper into exactly how pods work, you'll learn how to manage application deployments and services, and then you'll move on to more advanced topics like networking, security, and of course, troubleshooting.
So, to recap our whole journey today, it really just boils down to these 5 points. We started with the chaos of managing tons of apps, and we ended with this elegant automated solution that's all driven by simple blueprints.
Everything we've covered today, it's the foundational map. You now understand the core principles behind one of the most powerful and in-demand skills in all of technology. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?